Big Lez's League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big Lez's League, an all rugby league experience. I'm your host, Big Lez. Make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to the YouTube down below. All of our socials are also in the description of this video and all of our videos. So make sure to become a part of the Big Lez community. Get around all the socials, the Instagram, the TikTok, obviously on Spotify, Apple Podcasts for all audio content. Plenty of stuff coming out every single day on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. So make sure you get around that sort of stuff as well. But let's get straight into our Game 2 2024 Origin preview. Look, plenty of talking points here. Obviously, plenty of ins and outs. We'll go through the team list for both sides and just go through the main points of all of those team lists and then chuck in our predictions as well. I think that obviously if you follow the podcast a long time, you know who I'd be going for going into this one and in all Origin games as well. But let's go through the team list. We'll run through them very quickly. Got them up here in front of me. Obviously, the ins for New South Wales are Cam Murray, Connor Watson, Dylan Edwards, Latrell Mitchell, Luke Keary coming back into the reserves as well. Mitch Moses and Mitch Barnett. The outs are Hudson Young, James Tedesco, Joseph Akuso Suwali, Matt Burton and Nico Hines all out of the team. The 1 to 17s are for the New South Wales Blues, Dylan Edwards at fullback, To'o and Lomax on the wings, Latrell Mitchell and Critter in the centres. You've obviously got Luai and Mitch Moses in the halves, Jakey Travojevic and Payne Haas in the front row, Reece Robson at 9, Liam Martin and Angus Crichton in the back row with Cam Murray at 13, Connor Watson, Isaiah Yeo, Hamole Olakawatu and Spencer Leniu. On the bench, Barnett, McInnes and Luke Keary are your reserves. For the Maroons, Reece Walsh is at fullback, confirmed to play. Looks like he's passed all of the fitness tests and stuff like that. There was obviously a little bit concerned with him not playing much footy leading up to this game and also coming back from a pretty severe knockout just to see if he is A-OK to come back. As far as I've heard, he's A-OK. He's passed all those fitness tests, so he looks good to go. They've got Dane Gagai there in 18th man, where if things go haywire, he has to be ruled out late, which we'll find out obviously tomorrow or when this podcast comes out or the following day on game day. Obviously, Dane Gagai can come into the team and hammer. I think we'll just go straight to fullback. But at the moment, Reece Walsh is at fullback and we'll be previewing the game as if he's going to run out at fullback, which I'm sure he will. Coates and Murray Taulagi on the wings, Valentine Holmes and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow in the centres. I think the big out that's on everyone's lips at the moment is Selwyn Cobbo. Ruled himself out. It came to light a few days ago on the radio that he had ruled himself out. Just didn't feel like his body was in the right place. Had been dealing with a few hamstring and leg injuries, that he'd have to be getting pain-killing injections for over the past few weeks. So he decided to get his body right, pull himself out. He also didn't feel like he was mentally ready and stuff like that, which he had spoken to with Billy Slater when Billy Slater had called him to pick him in the team. That's the rumor that was coming off the radio the other day, which I was listening to. So, look, wishing him all the best. Hopefully he gets back for game 3, but very similar game backline, to what was supposed to be played in game 1. Tom Dearden, Cherry Evans in the halves, Cotter and Collins front row, Ben Hunt 9, Jaden Sewer and Jeremiah Nanai back row, Paddy Carrigan 13, Harry Grant, Mo Fodawaker, Felice Kafusi, and Kurt Capewell on the bench. Now, I think the big thing, which we'll talk about when we move to Queensland, is Kurt Capewell there in jersey, number 17. And, obviously when we did the side reactions, you guys saw me. Obviously, I was very confused. We sort of reacted to it live because we were doing the reaction to New South Wales and Queensland had come out. So we decided to do Queensland as well. And we saw that change pretty much live on the podcast before, obviously, it came out. Obviously, the news had come out literally as we were recording. But I think I've warmed up to it a little bit more. And we'll sort of talk about that as the podcast goes on. We'll start off with New South Wales, though, looking pretty similar to game 1. Obviously, the big changes are Edwards in there at fullback, Latrell Mitchell into the centres. Lomax keeps his spot. Obviously, a massive attacking performance for him, for the Blues. In game 1, obviously, having a good defensive centre like Stephen Crichton next to him on that right side, I think is going to do the Blues all the good going into game 2. And it's also going to secure Zach Lomax up defensively, because defensively, yes, obviously they were a man down on that side, but he did struggle and put his body in some pretty poor positions when defending on that edge. So I feel like having a good defensive center in Stephen Crichton there right next to him, especially when this is pretty much a new position for Zach Lomax as well. He's been playing a lot of center, moving over to the wing. I think it is going to do him the world of good having Critter there next to him to help him defend on that edge there. Mitch Moses coming into that number 7 jersey. It had to happen. I mean, obviously, Hines not having the best performance in game 1, trying to get a little bit overly involved, and so did James Tedesco, and it's probably the reason that they're both out of this side. They were just trying to get their hands on the ball too much. And I know that when you're the key player and there's a lot of pressure on you to perform, that you want to get your hands on the ball a lot and try and make the big play for your footy side. But most of the plays that Nicho Hines was making, it was just one passes off the ruck or kicks where there was just sort of no direction with those kicks. Like, sometimes it would go straight to the fullback or straight to the winger, or it would go 10 meters and there was no time for the back rowers or the edge players to go ahead and contest for the football. Just some really weird last tackle options, and yeah, unfortunately, it has cost him an origin spot there in the number 7 jersey. I feel like Nicho Hines isn't really a 7. I feel like he's a 7 in that Sharks outfit, and obviously he does come up with some pretty big plays and looks fantastic for the Sharks when he's out there. But obviously, over the past few weeks, has had a bit of a form slump with the pressure of Origin in that discussion. I'm sure that after Origin, he'll come back into his own and play some decent footy again. But yeah, for me, if he comes back to the Origin arena, I think he is more of a 6. I think that he'd suit that role a lot more. Just the pressure off his shoulders, playing a lot better football, much more expansive. He plays very well at fullback. He can play a bit of a roaming role, roaming both sides of the ruck, and just being a lot more loose, and I guess just, providing a lot more X factor than trying to run the team. I think that role would suit him a lot more in State of Origin, and I think it'll pretty much suit him a lot more in first grade as well. If he gets another number 7 next to him, potentially, if Trindle maybe takes that 7 jersey and he goes into a number 6, he's great down the left-hand side of the field anyway. So I feel like 6 suits him better. As I said, I feel like it's 7 at the moment, and particularly over the past few weeks with all this Origin chat, it just seems like when he is in that 7 jersey and he's tasked with running a football side, he just takes the pressure on himself a lot. And it affects his football. So, yeah, look, hopefully he gets a few weeks to just reflect, just to play his footy again, to just forget about that game 1 performance and the footy that he's played over the past few weeks, and just really start to get back to his footy. That's what we all want to see with Nicho Hines. He's been copping a lot of shit in the media after his game 1 performance and after the performance against the Panthers to get into State of Origin as well. I just think he needs some time to put that all in the past, focus on footy right now with the Cronulla Sharks, with a side that can push for finals, and really just make that his main focus. Focus on the Sharkies for the rest of the year, and just hopefully have some success with those guys. Just not putting so much pressure on himself to be that guy on the footy side. Trindle can take a lot of pressure off him. Trindle's played a lot of halfback as well. So I think that's the big thing for Nicho Hines. In terms of State of Origin, in terms of Mitch Moses, I think he's a lot better of an organiser. I think that he's going to come in and do a really good job like he did last year. People forget in that performance, that first performance for Mitch Moses, he was playing with a broken back. Last year, game 3, I thought he was outstanding alongside Cody Walker. Thought those guys did a really good job. His kicking game, a particularly long kicking game, it is going to be very beneficial bringing a guy like Mitch Moses in, who can have that temperament to control the footy side, the long kicking game, a bit more direction on last tackle plays as well, getting those kicks pinpoint and trapping Queensland in their end. It is something that is going to be very, very useful. But, finding the balance with that, but also a bit of a running game. Second phase play, Moses is very dangerous, particularly those short side raids on the right-hand side. He can be a real threat that way. Combining with Critter and Lomax on that side as well is going to be outstanding. And I think a little bit of a criticism too of Hines on that right-hand side was he just wasn't putting it up enough for Lomax on last tackle plays. Lomax was calling for the ball every single end of set when Hines got the ball. Hines needed to just plug it in that right-hand quarter to Lomax. Lomax was going to get up. He's been great under the ball in contact all season. So, just getting a few of those last tackle plays when they're on and, getting some short side raids with Lomax and Critter involved, it's going to be very successful. And I think that if anyone, is the best at those short side raids and running them, it is Moses. So, keen to see how they go. Plus, combining with Dylan Edwards, who always just plays his role perfectly, whether it be the guy that gets heavily involved or the guy that just sits back and lets his half and 5'8" run the team. He can do both very, very well. I think that Tedesco, a big criticism of him over the past few weeks, particularly at the start of the year, was just getting overly involved, having the 30 runs per game, taking hit-ups in sets as well. It's not something that you're going to see from Dylan Edwards unless he needs to get his side out of trouble. He is just going to sit back and let his halves run the team and just come in support when he needs to. And I think that's what New South Wales need. They were trying to build a side around Hines, but unfortunately, when you brought Tedesco in and when you brought, some individuals into that side, it started to become, Tedesco and Hines were fighting for the ball. Hines was trying to get the ball in his hands a little bit too often. And, look, granted, they built the side around Hines, but, they were sort of just fighting for ball, Tedesco and Hines and Tedesco both overplaying their hand. Particularly Tedesco has been the criticism of him. I think that this is just going to be a lot more settled. Edwards is going to play his role at the back. Moses is going to run the team and also have a bit of a running game, the short side raise, stuff like that. He's going to have a little bit more of a temperament and a bit of structure and just a focus. Every single set, there's going to be a goal. That's going to be really advantageous for us for New South Wales. And then Luai as well. When he needs to come in and intervene as well, he can come in and do that and just run that left-hand side. He's great at roaming both sides of the ruck, Luai. We've seen that in that number 7 jersey when he's been there this season. I'd love to just see him get involved as well. But, also having the, patience to just sort of sit back. If he just needs to sit on that left-hand side, he just sits on that left-hand side. Like he does at Clubland when Nathan Cleary's there as well. He just plays his role perfectly. Jerome Luai, that's what he needs to do in this game. Himself and Edwards play their roles very, very well in Clubland. It's what they need to do in this State of Origin game. And look, as we said in the review, if Moses does get into a bit of a patch, which I doubt he will, where things just aren't working down the right, Luai can come in and take charge. We saw that when he set up that try for Tedesco with the grubber kick on the inside, just getting the ball in his hands, commanding the football and running the team. Luai can play that role as well. So I think that Luai is a great guy to have in your team. And a lot of people were criticising Luai when he got picked in game 1, saying, after a few outbursts in previous Origin games and, just a few real poor decisions, like in breaks in play, obviously starting fights and, starting shit with other guys. He's really taken that out of his game of late. I mean, there's been a little bit of it here and there, but, you can't really take someone out of an Origin side for that. Look at all the incredible things he's done in play for State of Origin. I mean, you really cannot take him out of your football side in State of Origin either. He just suits that 6 jersey. I think he's going to be the 6 for a little while until, these Isaiah Katoas or your Lockie Galvins over the next 5 to 10 years are ready to take that mantle. I think that he's going to be a 6 for a long time for New South Wales. Himself and Cleary will probably be that combination unless obviously Moses spurts out to form and has a really good game in this one. We could even see Moses go into the 6 with Cleary at 7 or vice versa. I mean, we saw Cleary's performance in the grand final last year acting as more of a 6. So, look, we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. In terms of this game, though, I know that Luai and Edwards are going to play their roles perfectly. Moses, all he has to do is just direct the team, and then in those second phase passages of play, the short side raid, stuff like that, he just needs to really ice it perfectly and have a goal at the end of sets as well, is something we lacked in game 1. Latrell Mitchell in the centres as well. Love this for New South Wales. Again, just another guy that can break the game open. And I'd be giving Latrell a little bit of a roaming license. But then again, you'd also probably want him to stay for majority of the game on that left edge. We sort of spoke about in game 1, obviously, with Hines, the team being built around him. Tedesco comes in, he commands the ball too much, and all of a sudden, you've got a lot of chefs in the kitchen and it just doesn't work out. And Hines feels under pressure running the side. A lot of things went wrong in game 1. Obviously, the sin bin didn't help either, but Latrell Mitchell, I sort of don't want him to take too much control. Just let Moses run the team. Let Edwards and Luai create opportunities as well. And Latrell, you can stay on that edge, but I'll also maybe one or two times want him to come and roam and also get involved in that sort of manner. We've seen it with Tom Trbojevic in previous Origin games, particularly when New South Wales have won those series. Tom Trbojevic has that little roaming license. I want to see a little bit of that from Latrell as well, and particularly if New South Wales are under the pump, I want him to come into the middle and make a big play because that's the type of player Latrell is. He can make those big plays for your footy side. It's what I want to see from Latrell Mitchell. So, very excited with his inclusion, and I'm sure that in the media they said they're not scared of the Latrell pick. I imagine they're shitting their pants, especially that right edge defense there of Val Holmes and Xavier Coates. They would be shitting themselves, and especially with a few slips in Valentine Holmes' defense, and he has been known to have a few errors in his game this season as well. So sure, Latrell would have pretty much picked that out in film, and he'd be targeting Val Holmes a little bit there, trying to force errors out of him, handling errors especially. I think he had 2 or 3 in game 1 of Origin, Valentine Holmes, so forcing errors out of him. And I'm so excited for this battle. I really am. Latrell Mitchell, Valentine Holmes. It is going to be a special one. Forcing errors out of Val Holmes, but then capitalizing on those as well, taking the first hit up or making the big play after those errors as well. It's what Latrell Mitchell's here to do. And I can't wait to see him do it in this game. What else can we talk about here for New South Wales? Jake Trbojevic in his minutes. We sort of spoke about it when we reacted to this team. I think that he's going to get way more minutes. You'd probably be able to see him get around 40 to 50, maybe even pushing 60 minutes. I feel like with Cam McInnes in the side, you had McInnes, Yo, and Jake Trbojevic, a few guys that do very similar things. Link man forwards, in your footy side. They sort of spoke about it on Bloke in a Bar yesterday, but the role, and we sort of spoke about it too beforehand on the Rabbitohs radio podcast as well, but long gone are the days where front rowers are front rowers. It's middles now. We've seen that the game has changed in regards to middle forwards, and you're seeing ex-halves, older halves go into that role like Kurt Mann and Dylan Walker and play that lock sort of role. And this completely changed how the game is played. I mean, even ex-hooker Ruben Cotter, as an example, is a very early example of the way that the front row position has changed. But yeah, look, I mean, Jake Trbojevic, I think that himself and Isaiah Yeo, they both need to dumb down their roles as well. I think Jake Trbojevic, the big reason as to why he's been picked in this team, yes, it's for his leadership. Yes, it's for his passion for the jersey, but it's not for his attacking linkman plays. It's for his defense. Jake Trbojevic is a sensational defender. You want him to be on the field for long periods, helping out with the defense through the middle. He also offers quite a bit in attack. He can run the ball hard. He's always very, very good at getting to his front quite quickly. Good play the balls. But the big thing for me, for Jake Trbojevic, the big reason as to why I want him on the field for long periods, it is his defense, particularly goal line defense. You look at some of the goal line raids from the Queensland Maroons in game 1, and you look at the goal line defense. Jake Trbojevic was a key contributor, always getting back onto the line in time, rushing off the line as well, putting pressure on the attackers. He's very good with his goal line defense and just defense in general. He's someone you want on the field for long periods. And when guys like Cam Murray go off and you do need that link man, he can play that role as well. But I imagine Jake Trbojevic will be playing at least 50 minutes in this game. I doubt he'll get 30 minutes as the captain again. Game plan. If it works out the way of Jake Trbojevic getting that 30 minutes, it is what it is. It depends on how the game goes and what the game needs. If they need the more explosive guys on, Jake Trbojevic will just come off. But I expect him to play at least 40 to 50 minutes, Jake Trbojevic, in this game. Isaiah Yeo, I just want him to dumb down his performance. And it sounds pretty stupid. Pardon the pun there, telling them to dumb it down. It sounds stupid, but just dumb down his performance in terms of, not being that link man. He doesn't need to be what he is at Penrith. He just needs to be a front rower, and it worked so well in game 3 last year. It's what he needs to do in this game. He just needs to dumb down his game. He needs to go back to the basics, run hard, tackle hard, aim up in defense, run hard lines, footwork at the line, play like a front rower. That's what you need Isaiah Yeo to do. And I think that he's going to do that in this game. Payne Haas, look, he played close to 80 minutes last game, played around 65 to 69 minutes. I think it might have been too. I'll have to double check that. But he played close to the full game. I don't want that from Payne Haas. The difference between Jake Trbojevic and Payne Haas is Jake Trbojevic is that slower, more defensive-minded forward that you want on for long periods, to help with the defense through the middle. And obviously then as well, maybe a little bit of ball playing, but just play that front row type role with his defense and obviously aim up through the middle. Whereas Payne Haas is a little bit more, of a bit more of an explosive front rower that I probably want only playing around 30 to 35 minutes as the starter. I'd have, Spencer Leniu getting chunks of minutes as well, around the same 30, 35 minutes in two separate stints. Hamole Olakawatu, I mean, he'll probably play bigger minutes in this game. I'm expecting to. Wouldn't be surprised if he plays 40 to 45 minutes, a little bit in the middle, a little bit on an edge. We might see Angus Crichton come through the middle as well. Obviously played a bit of front row at the start of the year and the back end of last year as well. Liam Martin, I'd love to see him in the middle for a period, taking hit-ups, big hits. I'd love to see him go through the middle. He's been doing it for the past few weeks. For the Penrith Panthers, these sort of guys, I'm excited to see how the rotation works. But the most excited I am, the guy that excites me the most, I should say, is Connor Watson. I am so excited to see what his role is in this side. And I think that what excites me the most is that Queensland don't know where this guy is going to come into the game. Will he come in at 9? Will he come in the halves or in a roaming sort of capacity? Where does he come into this game? And the best thing about Connor Watson as well is he can play anywhere from 1 right down to 13. You just don't know where this guy is going to come into the fray. And I think that scares Queensland. And as a New South Wales fan, it really excites me because I just can't wait to see his role, his impact. He'll be that link man as well when Cam Murray comes off the field too. So Jake Trbojevic, Isaiah Yeo, as we said, just sticking to their processes, dumbing down their game, playing like front rowers. That's what we need from them in this one. Connor Watson, Cam Murray, they'll ball play. They'll have the explosive legs through the middle. They'll get the quick play the balls and generate second phase play. That's their role in this team. But Isaiah Yeo, Jake Trbojevic, dumbing down their game, keeping it really simple. That's going to be the goal for those sort of guys. Cam Murray back in Origin too. He's just an Origin player with his defense. Obviously, his link man plays through the middle of the park, just the fast, explosive leg speed with quick play the balls. It's what you want in Origin football. It is a little bit scary that he's just come back from injury and he's already set to play State of Origin football, but I am very excited to see how he goes. Look, he has been unlucky in past Origins, obviously with head knocks as well, ruling him out of the game quite early. I'm keen to see him get some big minutes. Wouldn't shock me if Cam Murray gets 80 as well. He plays around the 80 mark. I think that he'll get around 60 minutes in two separate stints. I think that Watson will probably play close to around 40 minutes as well. Wouldn't shock me if these two are on the field at the same time, just creating havoc. I'd love to see a world where Cam Murray, Connor Watson, and Spencer Leniu are the middles because you're just getting quick play of the balls, fast leg speed, especially around tired forwards. It is going to be an absolute nightmare. But as I said, I cannot wait to see how this rotation is used. Reece Robson had a sensational game 1. I'm looking for him to have a big game 2 in this one. He was great just with his service. He just played a really simple role. He played a really Madge hooker type role, which is what I loved. And yeah, he just suits this sort of team. And he was probably the only guy when Madge was sort of saying, I'm building this team around Hines. I want everyone to play off the back of Hines. He's probably the only player that did that. He was probably the only player that said, right, I've just got to stick to my processes, give good service to my halves, have some good, defensive performances. If I need to zip out a dummy half, I'll do so. But I'll play off the back of what Hines wants. As I said, he was probably the only player that game plan worked for. But at the same time, he had some great plays himself, big hits. Obviously, had a dummy half, zipping around, creating opportunities, solid service, which was just a simple thing that you want from all your hookers. But particularly in this game, I thought it worked really well. Played the full 80 minutes as well, which again, it just makes you scratch your head as to where Connor Watson comes into the game. And you probably think it would be through the middle of the park. But he can also come on in that 9 role as well if Robson needs a rest. So, look, Keen to see how Robson goes if he does play the 80. Again, it is very game dependent. How is this game going to go as to how this rotation works? And I am super excited for it. For New South Wales, a big emphasis needs to go on their defence, particularly on their edges. And as we said before, with Critter and Lomax, you're getting Critter there, who's an excellent defensive centre. It's going to help out Lomax a lot on that right-hand side. As for the left, Latrell Mitchell, great defensive player. I feel like it's a really underrated part of Latrell's game, his defensive mindset. He's really good at making good quality defensive decisions. His footy IQ is off the charts. And again, it's just not something that you'd really put on Latrell Mitchell. You go, fuck, Latrell Mitchell, what about the footy IQ on him? It's not something that you really say about Latrell Mitchell often, but it is a massive part of his game, and it's something that not a lot of people talk about, but he has probably got one of the better footy IQs of fullbacks or even centers as well in the competition, particularly in defense. His defensive footy IQ is so solid. I'm just so excited to see Latrell Mitchell in this game. I really am. But defensively, you know that he is going to stand up against Val Holmes. As I said, forcing errors from him and then making big plays off the back of it as well. Toto's always been defensively solid, and him just coming out of his own end as well. Himself, Lomax, Edwards coming out of their own end. Edwards and Toto coming out of their own end as well. Two of the best at it in the competition. Super excited about it for the Blues for State of Origin. Let's get into these filthy Maroons, eh? All right, let's talk about the Maroons. I think the big talking point, or at least the first big talking point for the Maroons, is the fitness of Reece Walsh. How is he coming into this game? He hasn't played any footy in 3 weeks, I think it has been now, since he last touched a football. Obviously, the last time he touched a football, he was knocked out by Joseph Suoli'i. So looking at him, obviously going into this game, it is going to be a little bit concerning. How's his fitness? How is he traveling, concussion-wise? Obviously, going to have a few fitness tests. And as we said at the start of the podcast, it looks like he's all good to go. So, look, we'll have to wait and see. But, he's always going to be a threat in Origin. Whether it be coming out of his own end, just his speed and his footwork, his body shape as well, the way he can torch his body when he moves, his passing game as well. Obviously, having that experience in the halves, his ball playing is elite. He does come up with a few errors as well, and I think that's going to be a big thing for New South Wales. Obviously, going back to New South Wales, shocked me, the New South Wales fan going back to New South Wales. But just forcing errors out of himself and Holmes is going to be a big thing. Reece Walsh and Val Holmes, New South Wales, forcing errors out of these sort of guys. Going back to Queensland, that's going to be the big thing for Reece Walsh from a Queensland perspective, is just not making as many errors. Reece Walsh is a guy that loves to have the ball in his hands in the big moments. But, in the shining lights, you don't want him making too many errors. We've seen a few errors from him in Clubland in those big moments. It's something we don't want to see going into this game. And, with the fitness low, depending on if, Queensland are going to be under the pump, you just want to keep the error count for both himself and Val Holmes to a minimum and just play some smart footy. Yes, you want to see the big plays and the off-the-cuff plays, but just executing that really, really well. And it's something that, we talk about Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow from game 1 and some of the plays that he came up with as well in that game. They were just executed so well. That left-hand side, through Tom Dearden as well. Again, giving credit to Tom Dearden for game 1. The way that they set up that left-hand side and just the execution, everything was so crisp. There was a plan there. Obviously a set play. They identified something at training through the defense of Lomax. Going down that left-hand side. But they just executed their plays to perfection. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, every time he roamed there, it seemed that there was going to be a try, or at least they'd come close. So, the defense for the Blues, but also just having that really well-oiled attack and just having a clear game plan in mind. And just executing to a very high percentage is going to be something for Queensland to focus on. Keeping the handling errors down for Val Holmes is going to be a big thing as well. We sort of spoke about that when we were talking about the Blues. The error count was pretty large for Valentine Holmes in game 1. It was about 3 handling errors there from him in big moments when the Queensland Maroons had a lot of momentum. They could have put a lot more points on New South Wales. There was just a few errors from a few other guys, but more so just from Valentine Holmes. And he's had a few spurts of these errors over the past few weeks. Keeping that error count low for both Walsh and Holmes is going to be a big, big factor going into this game, but throughout the entire team as well. high completions, and just having that crispness and that class in your play as well. Having a goal at the end of every set is going to be huge. Tom did, and with those short side raids, I think is going to be another big thing if he can execute like he did in game one. If Daly Cherry Evans, can play like he did in game one as well. He was the player of the match in game one, and you wonder why. You don't have to wonder why. He was setting up tries left, right, and center. His ball playing, his running game as well. He was just tormenting the Blues defense. He is definitely someone that we've got to watch out for in defense, the Blues, but in attack, if he attacks like he did in game one, and if he has similar success to what he did in game one as well, I feel like that he's going to have a big night again. But Tom Dearden as well, just what he did in game one too, if he can replicate that, it is going to be trouble for the Blues defense. I also feel like, though, and it's a pretty obvious thing to say, but with the Blues having one less man, it was a lot easier to generate those left-hand side raids, obviously isolating Lomax due to having Suoliti off the field. It just got a lot easier. And, we sort of said it on the Rabbitohs radio podcast after game one as well. People don't realize as well, and it sounds pretty fucking obvious, but when you get someone sent to the bin in your defensive mindset, when someone goes to the bin in the defensive line, there is 11 players. Your fullback still goes out the back. So there's 11 players versus 13. It's a two-man advantage every single time you go to your edges. And as I said, it sounds super obvious, but, it was much easier for the Maroons to attack and isolate Lomax, having a two-man advantage every time they went to their edges. They're not going to have that two-man advantage anymore. They're going to have only the one. If they execute properly, that is. If we spread, really well, which I imagine we will, having a solid defensive center now on that right-hand side, and Stephen Crichton, it is going to be much harder for them to execute those left-hand side raids. So that's why the execution needs to be on point. They need to, figure out how to do that with an extra man in defense on that side, because they aren't able to isolate Lomax like they did in game one anymore. Just working out on how they do that, but also not having that man advantage, or less man advantage, I should say, for Queensland's sake. It is going to be a bit of a challenge for them going into this game, and it isn't going to be as easy to attack. It's going to be very, very different. I don't think they're going to have as much success as what we saw in game one. And again, sounds very obvious, but I think it is going to be a very, very different game to what we saw in game one. And we'll sort of talk about how the game's going to go in a second. I already know we've hipped over the half an hour mark too, so won't keep you here for too much longer. The middles, I think, is going to be a big thing as well for Queensland. Ruben Cotter, Lindsay Collins. Collins had a big game in game one. Ruben Cotter, though, just a little bit quiet. And obviously, you don't want these sort of guys quiet, especially with Cotter. We talk about the new age middle forward as well. Just the leg speed. These ex-hookers or ex-halves coming into the forwards and just creating trouble with their leg speed and their ball playing. I want to see a few more threatening runs from Ruben Cotter through the middle of the park, because he just didn't seem to have too much luck running the ball. He looked like he got pumped every time he ran the ball too, Ruben Cotter. So just starting the game a little bit better, just having a little bit more impact in contact, running the ball a little bit harder, focus on getting to your front too and getting a quick play the ball for your side, leg speed, footwork at the line, stuff like that. I just want to see a little bit more impact from Ruben Cotter, and I think he knows that he probably didn't have the best performance in game one. I think that he can go to another level here in game two. I just want to see that from him. Well, I don't as a New South Wales fan, but speaking as a mutual, as unbiased as I possibly can, I want to see him just go to another level in game two here. Collins, he's been in some great form coming off the back of some really good Roosters performances. I think that he will be primed, ready to go for this one, having a lot of confidence. Ben Hunt was threatening at a dummy half too, just some of his scoots, but also just having the IQ that he has, the footy IQ that he has, being a half for, his whole career, having that footy IQ in the number 9 position, knowing how his halves want the ball, knowing, when to pass the ball as well, when to give the half early ball, where to give the ball, whether it be on the chest or be a bit out in front, stuff like that. But also as well, a bit of a kicking game at a dummy half as well. He's always threatening. I mean, we saw it with Brandon Smith the other night. Brandon Smith kicking a 40-20 in that Roosters game against the Dogs. Kicking game and a dummy half, we've seen it become more and more common. Reece Robson, we haven't seen that in his game, but having that in the number 9 for Queensland, it is a little bit of an advantage. Ben Hunt can come out of the dummy half role at any given moment and pump a 40-20, or at least jam us in our own end. I would like to see, it'd be interesting to see a lot more of that from Ben Hunt, on third or fourth tackled, early kick, get a good chase, whether it be on the right or the left-hand side, after a short side raid, just to pump it into the corner of New South Wales and get a good chase, trap them in their own end. I feel like that would be really dangerous. Just keen to see if he will do that, but it is a big advantage that they do have in that number 9 jersey with Ben Hunt there. Sewer, in those short side raids was outstanding on that left-hand side, played his role really well, ran the decoy as well when he needed a decoy, and then obviously recognised when he was going to get those short balls, he ran really hard lines and always got to his front quite well and quick play the ball. So, yeah, Jaden Sewer I thought was great, just having a very similar performance here, but also the intensity in defence that he brings as well. Keen to see him have a big game. Nanai as well in the air off kicks. We didn't really get to see too much of this combination because they did go down the left quite a bit. Obviously, Queensland, they were having a lot of success down the Queensland left, the Blues right. We didn't really get to see this combination come into effect. It's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on, the Nanai and DCE combo. Look, excited to see where this goes, and if he does get his hands on the ball a little bit more, Jeremiah Nanai. Paddy Carrigan through the middle, just having a little bit more of an impact here. I feel like his game 1 performance was great, but just coming and being an absolute barnstormer there through the 13 and being a real leader in this pack is going to be a big thing for Paddy Carrigan. Just replicating a lot of his game 1 performance and a lot of the form that we've seen from him over the past few weeks. That's going to be the key. Harry Grant, the 14, definitely wasn't as impactful last game as what we thought. He had a pretty mediocre game 1, if we're being honest. We've known that what he can do in that Queensland jersey, in that 14 jersey coming on, just the leg speed through the middle in that roaming role, then going into 9 and having Ben Hunt in that roaming role as well. This hooker 1-2 punch has worked for so long. Have New South Wales cracked the code and figured out how to defend Harry Grant when he comes on? It certainly looked like it through the middle in game 1. Just changing a few things up, recognising where he went wrong in game 1, and then being all the more dangerous in game 2 is going to be a big thing here for Harry Grant. Now, look, Mo Fodawaker, I thought he'd probably be dropped after game 1. Didn't have the best performance, not much impact through the middle. He's had some good Titans performances. Now it's a big test for him here for Queensland through the middle of the park. Hopefully he can have a much better performance coming onto the field. Felice Kafusi in the front row over the past few weeks has been absolutely killing it. Looking for him to have a big game here in jersey 16. And then the mystical number 17 here for Queensland, Kurt Capewell. I think that Billy Slaters identified that, and this is why I've sort of eased into having him there in that role, Kurt Capewell in jersey number 17. I think that Billy Slaters identified that if what happens with Reece Walsh happens again, which, look, knock on wood, it doesn't, but if that scenario happens again where foul play rules a player out from his side, he's going to get that 18th man coming in anyway due to the foul play rule, and that's going to be Dane Gagai. Dane Gagai, Selwyn Cobbo, you're getting an outside back into this side either way. I think that, Billy Slater's identified that due to foul play, he's going to get one of these guys in regardless. So you may as well just have the extra forward there on the bench and then have Dane Gagai there in jersey number 18. In saying that, as much as I'm sort of starting to grasp where Billy Slater is coming from here with this Kurt Capewell in the jersey number 17, having that extra forward, the fact that it's Kurt Capewell, and look, Kurt Capewell's come in and had some great Origin performances. Don't get me wrong, especially in the centers. He's absolutely killed it in Origin, and he seems to go to another level when he puts on that Maroons jersey, and wouldn't shock me if he did it again. But with Kurt Capewell, his current form, his current situation is he's coming back from a pretty severe neck injury that he's had to have surgery on. And obviously coming off the bench for the Warriors at the moment due to 2 better back rowers in Barnett and my mind's going blank, Marata Niokore. being in there over him. Two young, well, not younger, Mitch Barnett, definitely not younger. But, Maradona Corey, just some fast legs there. Mitch Barnett in better form at the moment. Having those two guys over him there, being in that number 17 jersey for the Warriors, he hasn't been very effective. Coming onto the field, whether it be on an edge or potentially through the middle, just has not been as effective. It's been a very slow return. I just feel like that this could be a little bit of a waste of an interchange. I'm almost of the opinion, and look, we've seen crazier things happen here for the Bush Poet. I mean, we saw Selwyn Cobbo in jersey number 17 last time, and we thought that was pretty mad, and it worked out very well for Queensland. So it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if New South Wales, they go away, they prepare for Kurt Capewell, and then just before kickoff, Helam Lukey makes his Origin debut, or Trent Liero makes his Origin debut. I think it will more likely be Helam Lukey, but it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if by, kickoff, we see in jersey number 19 coming onto the bench, Helam Lukey. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest. Mind games here from the Bush Poet. He has Kurt Capewell there. We're all sitting here questioning Kurt Capewell. How's he going to be used? His impact off the bench for the Warriors hasn't been too great. And then by the kickoff, we get Helam Lukey coming into the side, and it completely rattle me as a New South Wales fan a bit, because Helam Lukey's form has been quite solid. We know what he can do. The leg speed through the middle. He's got a great offload on him. He's always tough in contact. When New South Wales prepare for Kurt Capewell off the bench all week, and then they get a Helam Lukey, I think that would just really change things, and it would really change how this bench rotation works. You'd have two back rowers on the bench, but, Felice Kafusi's been playing middle. I imagine he comes into this game in the middle anyway. You get Helam Lukey coming on in that left edge back row for Sewer. Sewer can go into the middle, or Helam Lukey can just go into 13. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest. It wouldn't even shock me in the slightest if we see Dane Gagai hop into jersey number 17. Wouldn't shock me. Because then they have that Selwyn Cobbo type play. Dane Gagai can come into the centers. They move Hammer to the fullback position, or they move him into a roaming role through the middle, or they just have Dane Gagai in a middle role roaming through the middle. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest at all from the Bush Poet. We've seen crazier things, as we've said. I think that, as I said, I wouldn't count it out. I would not count out having Dane Gagai coming in at jersey number 17. Mind games from the Bush Poet, and he comes in either Dane Gagai or Helam Lukey. But look, if Kurt Capewell does come in, most likely, in my opinion, Jaden Sewer will be going to the middle, and Kurt Capewell will be going into that left edge back row spot next to Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow and Murray Taulagi. That's where I think Kurt Capewell comes into the game. Look, his impact and his fitness is going to be a big thing if he comes into this arena. Yes, as I said, we've seen some big performances from Kurt Capewell, but his fitness is under question, and I just feel like in the Origin arena could mean a little bit of trouble. Obviously, when he does come into the game, obviously New South Wales are going to plan to target him. And again, that's just why it sort of pulls me to the opinion that Helam Lukey might come in and make his Origin debut, or Dane Gagai might get named in jersey 17. It's something that New South Wales haven't prepared for. Even though that, wouldn't be surprised if New South Wales do prepare for these reserves to come in, and Madge is already aware of what I'm aware. I'm sure that he's 100 steps in front of where I am and where I'm thinking. But look, definitely something to think about here for Queensland fans. One of these guys could come in. Now, Sportsbet does have the Blues and the Maroons at even odds at $1.92. So it's pretty even Stevens. They cannot be separated at Melbourne. New South Wales do have the record at Melbourne at the moment. Obviously having a last win at the ground. Obviously Queensland do have the record in the last 5 games over us. They have won 4 of the last 5 games against New South Wales. We've only won 1 out of the past 5. However, we have got a pretty decent record in Melbourne. I think it's close to 9 out of 10, or maybe even 8 or 7 out of 10, but it is quite high, our record for New South Wales in Melbourne. They have considered it a New South Wales home game. I'm going New South Wales here, obviously. I think that we do win. I think that, as I said, having that extra man on the field, it does change things. New South Wales were the better team at the start of the game, particularly with Suaalii looking to have an absolute blinder there. A lot of momentum and a lot of energy got taken out of New South Wales when Suaalii came off the field, and the game was written at that stage. I feel like with the extra man on, I feel like we are going to be starting very well. If we start the game how we did in game 1 and we keep that momentum going for the full 80 minutes, I feel like New South Wales are very capable of winning. And I also feel like we're very capable if we back our defence enough and we obviously keep them out of our own end quite often, which we looked like we were going to do in game 1. I think New South Wales can potentially win 13 plus. I really do. I think there's a world where we can do it. I think that it will be a close game, but I think New South Wales get the job done. In terms of try scorers here, if you want to pick some try scorers for New South Wales, the guy that will break the game open is Latrell Mitchell. I've got him definitely as a try scorer. I think that he will score, whether it's in a big moment or not. I think that Latrell Mitchell will score a try in this game. As for the Queensland side, I think that Reece Walsh will be the guy to score in the big moment. I also think that Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow would be a good bet here on that left-hand side. His game 1 was absolutely outstanding. Gun to head, I'm going to go Reece Walsh for a bit of value. Obviously didn't play in that game 1. I think that in game 2, being in that fullback position, going on those left-hand side raids, I think that he could score a try for sure. Walshy and Latrell for me would be my anytime try scorers for this game with New South Wales to get the job done. As I said, if we start the game how we did in game 1, really tough through the middle, having that extra man in defence, we back our defence enough. We've got 2 very good defensive centres in Latrell Mitchell, whose defensive IQ we've already spoken about, and Stephen Crichton, who's been great in defence for the past few years. I think that we back our defence enough, especially on the edges in those short side raids, forcing errors out of Reece Walsh and Val Holmes. I think the New South Wales can definitely get the job done. Let me know your thoughts, obviously, in the comment section below. If I've missed any talking points, let me know. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll reply to you pretty quickly in the comment section. Love talking to the fans and you guys about football. Let's go ahead and follow the Big Lez's League community as well. Subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure to go ahead and follow us on all of our platforms as well. Instagram, TikTok, all of the links will be in the description below, and we will see you guys in the next one.